Welcome to Gallagher's Grub. Today we're going to be painting some lids to our Weber Qs. We've got the Weber Q1200 that we painted last year, and I'm going to show you around this. This has some bubbles. So what happened is I did not cure this grill properly. With this particular paint, you're supposed to put it into an oven or a grill at 200 degrees for an hour for that paint to cure. I thought I did that properly, but apparently I did not, because it's got bubbles over here, it's got bubbles back here, it's got some bubbling just basically all over. Then we've got this 2200 here, which is in pretty good condition, but I just don't like this titanium color that Weber calls it titanium. It doesn't look like titanium.
It doesn't look like, it looks like a cream.
And then we're gonna paint the grill where we've got these crazy baked on grease stains.
First step you want to do is sand these down. This one here is in good shape, so you could probably just use a hand sander and sand this down by hand just to scuff it up so it gives the paint something to adhere to. These two other lids are in worse condition. This one here has some bubbling, so you want to get a coarser grit sandpaper, maybe start out at 100 grit. See if you can sand down these bubbles just to make everything as flat as possible. A rule of thumb I use is that when you think everything's smooth, close your eyes and then feel it. If you feel any bumps on anything, sand those down again, because if you can feel it, a lot of times when you paint it, that's going to make it more pronounced.
The one thing I want to mention though is that if you use a really coarse sandpaper, you can actually create grooves in the grill that are unappealing.
Yeah, if you use a 60 grit or an 80 grit, that might be too coarse. What you want to do when you're doing these is start as high as you can, and if it's not coming off, like this one here, I may start with a 100. If I can't get this up, I may go down to an 80. Then what you want to do after you get those coarser grit sandpapers is you want to go back up and sand it down smooth. So this one I might have to go to an 80, up to a 120, up to a 220 to make it smooth. So I want to try to get as much of this baked on discoloration off as possible. The top has a little bit of scarring on it. Try to sand that down so that you can't feel that.
Alright, so without further ado, let's paint some lids.
Let's do it. Alright, so this first lid that we're going to do is in pretty good shape. So you should be able to just sand this by hand. I have a 220 grit sandpaper. You want to feel any places on the grill that may have gotten scuffed up or started to chip off, and you want to sand those down smooth. You want to feel it after you do that. If you can still feel it, keep sanding. Okay, so you've scuffed this whole lid up now, and everything is as smooth as you want to get it. Now you want to wipe this down with a wet cloth. Alright, so this grill here has been painted before, and it has some bubbling and some chips on it. So we're going to need a coarser grit sandpaper for this one here. So I grabbed a 100 grit sandpaper on this palm sander, this electric sander. I'm going to start sanding this off. Turn this around a little bit so you can see it better. This bubbling here, I'm going to try to get down as smoothly as I can. So some of these corners here, they have some pretty bad chips. So we're going to have to get that by hand because you can't get in there properly with this palm sander. Also, the inset of the Q logo, we'll have to hit that by hand as well. All right, so this last lid is in pretty rough shape. Has this discoloration from smoke burns, has a little bit of scarring and chipping up here. So I'm going to start with an 80 grit sandpaper, try to get as much of this off as possible, try to smooth this down, and I'll have to probably go back up to smooth it out so it's not so rough. So let's go. We've sanded down our lid and prepped this, and we went and bought some VHT for very high temperature caliper paint. So this is protected up to 900 degrees Fahrenheit, 482 degrees Celsius. Read the directions on the cans, whatever your can says. This one, give it a good shake first. You want to keep the can moving at all times. You also want to do it very light coats, okay, to prevent streaking. So let's see what we got here. I'm going to give it a couple minutes before I put on another coat. The original color of this lid is green, painted in burnt copper. So we're going to paint it again in burnt copper and see what happens. Okay, so the last lid we're going to do today is a lid that we cleaned. The cleaning really didn't work that well. There were still some black marks that were discolored from smoke and cooking greases and all that kind of stuff. There's some divots on here. So I sanded this down, and we're going to paint this a gloss yellow. On the Weber Q Facebook page that I moderate, a gentleman put up a picture of a DeWalt Weber Q that he found. I believe that may have been found in some sort of an employee appreciation catalog or something like that, where it's like, hey, you have a 10-year anniversary, go in this catalog and pick something out there. And they had a DeWalt branded Weber Q, a baby Q with a DeWalt handle and this gloss yellow. And I'm like, you know what, that might be something fun to do. So I'm gonna do this for one of my lids here. So gloss yellow, very high temperature paint. Let's give this a go. All right, we're gonna give those first two coats a chance to dry, and give these 3 mosquitoes a chance to fly away, and we'll see what happens.
So when all was said and done, here are the 3 lids that we painted, along with 3 others that Sean had previously painted. And it just goes to show you how fun and how creative you can be with your Weber Qs. Okay, so this is our last video in this series. And wow, I think these grills are looking pretty hot.
They do look hot. I love how that silver looks like the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, it's really nice. Really
this
cool.
yellow, the before and after of this is stunning. And it looks like a really cool high-vis Weber grill.
Yeah, I love the glossy yellow. I think it looks great.
Yep.
And then of course, you know, the burnt orange still looks great to me too. So that's how you paint your Weber Q. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below to let us know what you think of the paint jobs that we did. And of course, keep on grilling.